Hi everyone, good evening. Today is March 3rd, I think, so I hope everyone is doing well. I'm Shoshana Ort. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I decided to talk about society and body image, and I'm going to start today by telling you a personal story that happened to me and why I became so passionate about this. So a couple years ago, a little less than a couple years ago, but I gave birth to twins, two beautiful twins, thank God. And I got sick, very, very sick, shortly after I had the twins. And I was in the hospital, and I had pretty much no appetite. I had very little energy. I was not able to do a lot of things, but I did have no appetite. And so I lost the baby weight that I had, gained during my pregnancy very, very quickly. And I was pretty thin, like pretty shortly after I gave birth to twins. And a lot of people were commenting on how good I looked. And it started to make me realize a big issue that we have in our society. But it came to a head when I was in the hospital, again, I think it was the second time afterwards, and one of the head nurses came into my room, and she was pregnant, and she said to me, "Wow, you look amazing. I hope that I look that good after I have just one baby." And I looked at her and I let her go. There was nothing really to say. But I sat there. I was in a hospital bed, so there was not really anywhere to go. And I thought to myself, wow, she hopes that she looks this good. She hopes she looks this good, meaning thin, after she has her baby. And that's what her ideal is. And does she realize that I'm sitting here in a hospital bed, very, very sick, not knowing what's going to be, and realizing that I have zero appetite, zero energy. And it started to make me realize on a whole new level, the issue that we have in our society. And that is that society views thinness, being thin, as being healthy, strong, self-disciplined, motivated, very beautiful, and a lot of other positive things. And it doesn't matter how you get there or what you have to do to yourself in order to become thin, but that is the ideal in our society that we live in. And because of this problem, because of this way of looking and attitude that the general society, now I'm talking about, when I say society, I'm talking about friends, I'm talking about the medical system, because that was a nurse who was talking to me when they said that. I'm talking about our general culture. And then if we go into social media and stars and models, then we are even infiltrated more with this message that thin is beautiful and thin means that you are healthy. When in reality, if you really think about it, thin many, many times means that we are subjugating ourselves to abuse. We're subjugating ourselves to mental or emotional abuse, or we're depriving ourselves of things that we really want. And it's actually quite the opposite. It doesn't mean that we're self-disciplined, or it doesn't mean that we're happy. It doesn't mean that we're motivated. It just means that we're doing what the culture tells us that we're doing. So we are made to feel a lot of times that thin is the beautiful, it's the ideal, and it's what everyone needs to be working towards. And if you are not that level, and I don't know if it ever does get to that level, if people are ever satisfied when they're in this society that thin is beautiful, if people are ever happy with their bodies. For example, and I also wanted to say that before I gave this live, I was speaking to a few clients about this topic because I work with a number of people in this area, And I gave them a few exercises, and I asked them specifically for permission if I can share the answers that they gave, and I did get permission from them. So I'm going to be sharing some information from clients that I've done certain exercises with. I encourage you and invite you to do these same exercises yourself, because a lot of people find them to be very enlightening, very taking a lot of weight off their back and off their shoulders of the pressures that they feel on a constant level. But on a constant basis, I mean. So a lot of people, we are made to feel that our bodies are the problem. And a lot of times we end up dieting because of that. But one of the exercise questions that I give to my clients is, it starts with a statement, which is that bodies come in all shapes and sizes. You weren't born thinking one type of body is better than another. When was the first time you heard someone say that your body was a problem? If you could go back in time, what would you like to say to that person? And consider writing a letter describing what you felt. And it's up to you whether you want to send it or not. So I got permission from one of these clients to actually read what they said. And I'm going to read two client testimonials here, just to give you an idea and see if you can relate to any of these and see if this resonates with you. This client was in middle school when this happened. She was on a soccer team. She was an amazing soccer player. And one person, when they were getting out their uniforms, when they were getting them, she was a size medium. And someone made a comment about that, and she suddenly felt like she was not the right size. So when she wrote this letter, this is her letter, I asked her if I can read it, and I did get permission for this. You were the first person that made a comment on my body. We were both so young, so I'm not really sure why you even said it in the first place. Up until then, I thought I was normal. I played a sport and I didn't really have to look after what I eat, but that all changed. You made a comment about how I wore a size medium and you were an extra small. When you said, wow, those look big, my world shattered. I stood in front of the mirror and judged my body for hours, and really since then I've never stopped. Looking back, I know you meant no harm, and if you did, it really wasn't as deep as I made it out to be in my head. Just because we had different size shorts doesn't mean one of us was more beautiful or better than the other. While it took me a while to learn this, I forgive you, because maybe you were just as lost and hurt as I was. Now, this is someone who has been struggling with their weight since that time in middle school, and this a number of years ago. That's just one example of how a comment like this is that people think, yes, that is not a normal thing to be a size medium. In reality, bodies really come in all shapes and sizes. Another client that I asked about this, she was 7 or 8 at the time, when she remembers that someone saying a negative comment about her body. And she said she was around 7 or 8 and she was playing with something in her house, and she overheard her grandmother talking to her mother. And she overheard it in the other room. And she overheard her grandmother saying she is too lazy. She's getting fat. She doesn't look like her age. She's bigger than everyone else. My client was saying that she actually was looking back at pictures from this time, and she does not look heavier than the average kid. But at that time, she remembers that she was only 7 or 8, but she was playing with her dolls. She stopped and she just listened to what her grandmother was saying, and she started to clean up her toys to show and prove that she wasn't lazy. She remembers feeling alone, and that everything around her now was separate, and she wasn't able to relate to them because she was a big problem and her body size was a very, very big problem. This ended up leading to a lot of loneliness and aloneness and depression for this specific client, and a lot of self-body issues. So those are just 2 examples of some of the things that the clients have written. But I would encourage you, if this is resonating with you and you feel like this could help you, to try to sit back and think about when your body was made, when you felt the first time that you felt like your body was a problem. And if you could go back in time, what would you say to that person, and really write it down and see if that helps you. That's the first part. So what ends up happening is that we are made to feel like our bodies are a problem many times. We are made to feel like if we would only lose weight, then all of our issues would be solved, and we would be happy, and we would be desirable, and we would be outgoing, and we would be organized and responsible, and we would be popular, and we would be just everything good. We would just be in this great place. So that leads to a lot of dieting and a lot of body shame. Now, a lot of the time, or most of the time, majority of the time, diets do not end up working. So the vast majority of people who go on diets regain the weight for a variety of reasons. And this ends up leading to a tremendous amount of shame for the people who are trying to diet. And they feel like, oh my gosh, I am all those things. I'm not motivated. I'm not able to keep to a diet. And it leads to a tremendous amount of shame, which a lot of times actually leads to even more weight gain. And a lot of people end up dieting, and we end up making ourselves hungry or not going to certain outings because we don't want to gain weight. And really, there's such a big emphasis put on the weight or the size clothing you are instead of the health that people are actually, like the level of health that people are experiencing. Just like I was saying, when I was in hospital, there was clearly the nurse was not looking at me and saying, wow, you're so healthy, I want to be like that. She was saying, you're so thin, I want to be like that. And a lot of times that's what we're aiming towards. We're aiming towards being thin, but we're not looking at what that entails and what that means for each person. So a lot of times people have a very, very hard time realizing that they are not the issue, and that the issue is really stemming from the diets. And the second exercise that I'm going to bring up today, which I do with a number of my clients, is to make a timeline of your past dieting experiences, including any type of food restrictions for the purpose of weight loss, and write down, how did you feel while you were dieting? How did you feel when the weight returned? And then what would it mean to stop blaming yourself for the diet culture? And that concept, that idea of stopping to blame yourself for the diet culture is a very new, weird phenomenon for the clients that I suggested to. I haven't seen one that's like, oh yeah, that would be amazing. Oh, but when you actually think about it, and I ask them, what would that be like for you? It's actually a very, very liberating feeling. And I want to give an analogy to a person who is in an abusive relationship. And when they're in this abusive relationship, they are constantly, no matter what they do, no matter how hard they try, if they are being abused, if they are in a relationship with an abuser, then they are going to get abused. It doesn't matter how much they try to appease them. It doesn't matter how much they change. That person, the abuser, is still going to abuse them. And majority of the time in abusive relationships, the abuser it's called gaslighting, but it makes they make the person who is being abused feel like they are the one that's causing it. They are the one that is the issue. So the person who is being abused usually takes that for a while, and they say, like, if I just change this, if I just change that, if I just do this differently, if I always make them happy, if I don't make them upset, then this won't happen again, and then we could be happy, and then everything could be good. And if the abused person starts to realize that they are not the issue, they are not the one who has the issue, and that no matter how hard they try, they are not going to be able to stop the abuser from abusing. That's not what they're going to be able to do. That is not within their control. And if they are able to realize that and suddenly switch turn the tables and say, wow, I am not the issue here. It is the person who is abusing who has the issue, and if they can't change, then I need to figure out what else I'm going to do, but I can't keep trying different things to appease this person and make them happy. Instead, I need to figure out what I need to do for myself. That is a very, very liberating feeling. And the same is true, very, very similar to people who are in the diet culture, stuck in the diet culture, and realizing that the diet culture is meant to make you feel guilty about the fact that you're not sticking to it. It's meant to make you feel like you are the one who is not motivated, or you have very little self-control, and all of these things that the culture that we live in is telling us on a constant basis. Oh, you're not strong enough. Oh, you're not self-disciplined. Oh, you're not motivated. Oh, you're nothing. You're nothing that we all want and aspire to. When someone is able to realize that they are not the issue, but it's actually diet culture, it's many, many times a very, very liberating feeling. And being able to give up the diet culture and starting to listen to your body and figure out what your body needs at that time, which is much more of intuitive eating, which leads also to intuitive living. Intuitive eating leads to intuitive living. I don't know if that's what I just said. It's very, very liberating for a lot of people. So that's the second exercise that I would encourage you to do if this is something that resonates with you. And I challenge you to start to become aware of the cultural messages that value thinness over the natural diversity of body sizes. And these stigmatizing messages create shame-based feelings like 99% of the time. And when we're able to, when people are stuck in this mindset of thin is beautiful and it doesn't matter what you need to do to get there, a lot of times that leads to body eating disorders or disordered eating, which is incredibly common, and it's worldwide. Eating disorders are so incredibly high, and disordered eating is even higher than eating disorders because it's not on the level of eating disorder, meaning someone with disordered eating is not going to end up in a clinic, but it doesn't mean that they don't have an unhealthy relationship with food and their body. And what happens is that unfortunately when we're in this society, because we're in the society of valuing thinness as the end all be all most important thing that you could possibly be, and that's what you need to get to, we many times forget to appreciate the amazing miracles that are happening in our bodies on a daily basis, that are supporting us, to help us see, to help us breathe, to help us move, to help us do the millions of things that we do every single day. But because a lot of times people are so taken over by this societal pressure and message, when they look in the mirror, they don't see a beautiful body that's supporting them in so many different areas. They just say, ooh, that's gross. Like, they can't even look in the mirror and they cannot appreciate the greatness of what their body has to offer. And this affects all different areas of your life. It's going to affect your self-esteem. It's going to affect your anxiety because you're not feeling like you're good enough and you're not able to keep up. It affects relationships. It affects intimacy. It affects how you're able to just be and present, and how you are with yourself. And there are just so many areas that body image like flows into. And the reason why I felt so passionate about giving this talk is because if people are able to start to realize that thin might be what society and the media tell us is what is beautiful, and it's what you need in order to be the best you can be. But by opening up your mind and realizing that the society that we're living in is very backwards, it's very unhealthy, and it's very sad, and it's made to make people feel like they're never enough, and that they are the issue, and that if you just did this and this diet, and if you just changed to this and this and this, then you would be able to be like everyone else is, and you would be able to be happy, and you would be able to be confident. And many times clients who tell me when they lose weight, it doesn't actually bring them happiness, it's just that they've lost weight, and it actually doesn't do any of those things that they were hoping that was going to change when they lost weight. So if you're struggling with your weight and you feel like it's really important for you to lose weight, then that still might be true. You might still want to lose weight. But even if that is the case and you are struggling with your weight and you feel like you do need to lose weight, coming to yourself, from a compassionate lens, meaning that telling yourself, I am not the issue here, meaning there's a lot of things at play here, and I want to be healthy. I want to be healthy, and I want to be kind to my body, and I want to figure out what I need right now. Then people are able to get much more to their regular body weight than the other way around, which is yo-yo dieting most of the time. Yo-yo dieting causes people to gain weight in the long run, in majority of the time, like 99% of the time, because the people gain weight most of the time back, and then it ends up going up from where they started from. And being able to just be more compassionate will help you, hopefully, to live a happier life in the now, in the here and now, while you're the weight that you are, even if you're working towards losing weight, which is a fine thing to do. But even if you are losing weight and trying to lose weight, then being more compassionate to yourself and appreciating what your body is doing for you and how it is supportive of you, and appreciating that is going to put you in a whole different category, in a very, very different, you're going to be a different person by coming to yourself from this vantage point. And if this is something that you feel like speaks to you, I would encourage you, invite you to reach out to work with this, because there are a lot more exercises and a lot more ways to open your mind and your heart and to come to yourself with more self-acceptance, more compassion, and to be happier in the here and now, and realize that the messages that we're getting from the society and from the medical system and from family and from everyone around us are not necessarily true. And finding that truth for yourself is very empowering. So I wish you the best of luck, and I also invite you to reach out, and I would look forward to working with you. Have a good night. Take care. Bye.